To get to shake things. I'm like,
alright, is that everyone? Yeah, we're good? Alright, have a seat. We're going to start. And ladies and gentlemen, Julian Hadley.
Alright, so I'm Julian Hadley, and I'm going to be giving a talk on first impressions and making the most of your first minute of gameplay. So, first I'm going to tell you a bit about myself. I'm a YouTuber and a games journalist. I write for quite a few different websites, including Play Sourcing, GameMaker Fireside. I record thousands of indie games every year. I recorded 5,000 indie games last year, and I've passed 4,000 this year. Mainly game jam games, so I've had a lot of first impressions and I've seen a lot of the first minute of people's games, because I do them in a sort of compilation style that looks at the first minute of them. I also run this website, which is a game jam calendar that shows all of the game jams going on at any given time. There are tons. A while ago, I made a couple of little arcade games in GameMaker and really loved the engine and the community around it, which basically helped me make my games. Yeah. So why is this important? Making the first minute of your game really stand out is a big deal. There are a lot of games made every year, there are a lot of games released all of the time, and you need to make your game stand out so it can be seen against all of the other games that are being published and released on different platforms. Right. So, taking advantage of your first impression, making sure that someone will continue to play your game after that first minute and stick with it, is a big part of releasing games. So before you get to your first minute of gameplay, you need to actually take some time to put it into the page that you're going to put your game on, whether it's on Steam, or on Itch, or on GameJolt. You need to add pictures and banners, and you need to just kind of...
Captain. Yeah, Captain.
You need to add dev blogs, you need to add just quotes on people who've talked about your game, just anything to make it more appealing and not just a blank page. So I've got some examples. This is a game on GameJolt that's got no views and no ratings and was just put up like this. There's nothing there, it's not appealing. It is a browser-based game, and some people think that if they put up a browser-based game, they don't have to do any work. But people aren't going to play it if it's not attractive. This is a game that had just a bit more work in it. It's got some screenshots, they've got their game right there, they have a full description, how to interact, how to actually play their game, which is very helpful. But it still didn't have that many followers, didn't have that many downloads. This is a game that went all out. They had a banner, they had all of their information, they had a game soundtrack so you can go check out more from their game. They've got videos linked up there, you can find their Twitter and their website, a full description of where it's been featured, tons of information, and then it's featured on GameJolt because it looks nice. It's something that's presentable and people will look at it and play it. There's some similar in Itch. This is a game that they put a very, very small description on and a picture, which isn't very much. And this is another game that's actually made for a game jam, so they have all of their different builds and a little bit on all of the different builds and what it was built for, as well as the descriptions and pictures. And this was a game that was featured, and it's complete. It's got pictures, it's got some images in the description, it has links to where the developers are, it's got its soundtrack there available for download, and it has a community link to it so that you can talk about the game right there. So that's a very important part of your game, but when someone downloads your game, you have to make sure that your game's face is really good. So your game's face is your starting screen. It's the first thing that a player will look at when they check out your game. Your starting screen, it needs to be simple looking, it needs to have everything that you're expecting to see on the game. You need to have a start menu, like a start button, how-to, maybe a credits. If you don't have an in-game tutorial, have a how-to there so that people understand your game so that they can play it and play it properly. Interactive title screens are really cool and are a great way to sort of make your game stand out and make your title screen stand out and just be more alluring. If you do have cutscenes, because a lot of narrative-based games do have cutscenes, having a title screen and a start screen after the cutscene makes sense because sometimes players want a minute to look at the screen and to maybe adjust the sound or just get into the mode of playing the game. So not jumping in with the action is good. I record a lot of games and a lot of times the sound will just be off at the start. And not having that moment at the screen to adjust the sound means I'll start recording your game, I'll have to restart your game and try working it out, and it's just a log castle. So this is a game called Dick Dick. So this game is a 2-player game, and one player can kind of control the platforms, and the other player can control this little deer character. So this is just the start scene, and you can kind of jump around and use that platform to jump up there, and then the whole like screen animates and stuff, which is just adorable, and it's a great little feature of the game. And then to start it, both players just kind of punch up, which not only teaches you the base mechanic of the game, how to play it, but it also is just really freaking adorable. So I really enjoyed it. So this is Interdimensional Nuisance. You can play. These are all videos playing. Alright. This was a game that was actually made for the Castle Game Jam.
Oh, too fast. That's too fast. There we go.
So instead of having a tutorial, they made their start screen a tutorial. So it's a pretty simple game where you just kind of drag back and aim the ball at the ghost and you kill it. And then the gameplay is very similar to that. So once you've mastered the title screen, you know how to play the game. There's no need for a tutorial, it's all right there. And it's just a really nice way of doing it, and a very simple way of playing. The first time I'd ever encountered an interactive title screen, it was an Asteroids-esque game where you blew up the start button with your ship, and it was just an easy way to tell the game what to do. And this is Mau Castle, which is over there. This is the older version of it from Castle Game Jam, right after it was made. And it's not an interactive start screen, but it's just a bit animated. And that's really lovely to look at. And Quang goes to lots of shows and sort of shows them off at events. And having the sort of dynamic moving screen, it makes people look at it. It grabs interest when it's just up there on board. It's really well done. So these are some very basic title screens. Stardew Valley, it does have animated clouds, and there are a bunch of Easter eggs in Stardew Valley, which are just really cool to see. But it also has everything you'd expect of a start screen. It has a new game load, game exit, information where you can find the developers. Valhalla is very similar. It's a title screen that starts right after the cutscene, but it's got everything you'd expect, and it's got information on the publishers as well as the game development studios, so you can go find it. So graphics is another big part of your game and how your game looks and making a good first impression. Even simplistic graphics need to have a cohesive style. So your graphics don't have to be very complicated as long as they're very cohesive and look well and consistent. Games that just have like muddled up graphics all put together with no meaning behind it, no reason behind it, tend to look quite off and just jarring. So this is a game that was published on Steam, and it's got a hand-drawn bunny and then a load of assets from the Unity Assets Store, it seems, and it just doesn't look great. It doesn't match. And this is an Android game, and the background doesn't match any of the 3D graphics. It doesn't look great. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's just not a good way to show your game. This is Doodle Escape. These are earlier pictures of Doodle Escape back when this is the first level and this is the second level, and they both look great, but they look like two very different games. And that was really confusing as people looked at it. A lot of people thought the screenshots from this build were them working on a second game, but that's the second level. So being cohesive, even in nice graphics, is something to look out for. Audio on title screens is something I really enjoy if you're into actually hearing bits of your games and getting the mindset of the game. Having audio is good, but you need to make sure it loops. That's a common problem on title screens. You would be surprised how many players will open up your game and then fiddle around with stuff and then play it. So if your audio doesn't loop correctly, they'll notice and then it'll be talked about, and it's not that great. For tutorials, don't make tutorials required. Make sure that they're skippable. And they're not needed if you have simple platformers. If you can do with a how-to menu, have a how-to menu instead. I've played a lot of platformers that the first screen is just 5 seconds of me running. The second screen is 5 seconds of me running, hitting spacebar once, and then continuing to run. And just so on. It's just not needed. Keep it engaging. If you have a super complex game and you have to have a lot of wording in your tutorials, make sure that it's at least engaging or paced well. Don't throw a load of words at the player because it's just too much. This is Greedy Guns. It's a game that's got a great tutorial. And this is the demo build of Greedy Guns, which is now released. And it's a great game. The demo of it had a tutorial that puts you right in the action. You instantly get to play, and it just shows you what to do. There aren't any words or anything. I was using a controller, so it's super easy to follow. And then you can just sort of play the game. And this tutorial makes sense in the context of the game, which is really important. It doesn't feel like I'm just being thrown into a battle level. At the end of this, the person goes, well, why am I here? How did I even get here? And then flashes back to the actual gameplay. So it feels like totally a decent part of the game. So there's some notes to go on with controls and level design, because if something's wrong with your controls, it'll be noticed right at the start of playing it. So make sure your game isn't overly challenging at the start, especially rage platformers. Developers, you test your games a lot, and you'll start to figure out how to master your game easily. And you need to be careful that you don't master your game to the point where it's impossible for other people to play it. So when you have like rage platformers, sometimes the first jump is literally impossible for anyone that's not the developer, and it's something that won't be picked up upon. So make sure that there's a balance there. Specifically for keyboard controls, if you have WASD, try to have arrow keys. If you have Z and C, try to also have C and V for QWERTY keyboards, or have custom mapping or all the controls, which is the best option, but sometimes it's not possible. For the longest time, I played everything on my laptop, so I preferred arrow keys to WASD, which was horrible, because loads of people are like, that's not how you play games. But people do, and they would like to play your game well. Don't make things controller only, because not everyone has a controller. Make sure that there's clear paths in the game, that people know where they're going. And if it's multiplayer, have some bots, because not everyone has friends, and they might still want to play your game. Or they might not have friends that live near them, because they live in the middle of nowhere, so it'd be great to play your games. This is Dagon, so I'm going to show you the first minute of this game. So you have this little character, who's called Dagon, I guess, and you can kind of jump around and kill things. Your jump is sort of a jetpack, which you can only use the duration of the bar at the top. So you can control the head when it bounces just a little bit, not enough to really do any damage, but to knock some of these alien things occasionally. And your gems don't seem to despawn. So what would you think the goal of that game would be?
Score.
Sorry?
Score.
High score? Okay.
Reach the end.
Reach the end? Okay. Any other ideas? Apparently, well, I thought it was to collect gems. I can't click next. Sorry. Apparently it's to collect these little circles. That's not explained. Those circles are giant fruit. Not sure why. You start about mid-map and then you make your way around this huge world. You can also shoot straight up, which is never explained but makes the game a whole lot easier. That just none of that detail, none of that was in there. So people didn't do that. The developer's response was, oh, well, there's so many gems. I assume people wouldn't go for high score and people wouldn't go for collecting the gems because there's so much more to explore. But we don't know this as players. We have no idea that there's all of this world. We just see what's in front of us. This is Cabin of Flight.
Sorry, my bad. Here we go.
And this is a beautiful game jam game that's made very, very well. And the developer put a note on its page that said, you can climb down grass that sticks out. And so the first time I jumped and not made that jump, because it never said you could climb those little indents, I fell down and saw this ladder. So I then climbed down the grass as I was instructed and walked forward a bit, because that looks like part of the game. Clearly, I couldn't make the jump, so it makes sense this is part of the game. I've been given a flashlight all of a sudden. Clearly, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the end of the level. So maybe not having levels that you can kind of drop into is a good thing, having a clear direction forward, and be careful about the notes you put in the description of your game. I then spent a good part of half an hour trying to figure out how to make these levers work, but because I bypassed the tutorial to get here, and they activate stuff on the other end, I couldn't do anything. And that was my whole experience of the game. And it's a really well-made game. It's really beautiful. So being careful of like the direct way that players go is important. But yeah, on top of that, make something with impact. Make something that engages people and make something that you love. If you're proud of it and you love it, chances are other people will love it as well. That's it.